In Part 1, we explored the Atlanteans' origins, an advanced civilization from the Sirius star system. After their home planet was lost in a cosmic disaster, they traveled to Earth using their colossal planetary arc, what we now call the Moon. There, they founded the great civilization of Atlantis, a center of advanced knowledge and technology. If you haven't watched Part 1 yet, make sure to check it out first by following the link above. But even mighty empires fall. In this second part, we uncover the dark forces, betrayals, and wars that led to Atlantis' ultimate destruction. What caused its downfall? And how did it shape our world today? Now, let's dive in. The fall of Atlantis and the Cataclysm on Earth. The downfall of Cronus marked the beginning of the end for all of Atlantis. Although Zeus and his allies overthrew the tyrant, the consequences of his reign proved disastrous. After Cronus's defeat, Zeus and his brothers, Poseidon and Hades, divided the rule over Atlantis. Poseidon became the ruler of the seas and the Atlantic region. Hades retreated deep into the earth, establishing his dominion in underground cities, while Zeus assumed the role of supreme ruler, striving to restore peace. But Atlantis was no longer the great empire it once was under Atlas. Over the many years of Cronus's rule, it had transformed into a war-driven machine, obsessed with conquest and total control of the world. A portion of the elite and priests under the leadership of Poseidon continued to follow his doctrine, believing that their race was destined to rule over Earth. Furthermore, during his tyranny, Cronus had done something even more dangerous. He had forged an alliance with dark forces hidden in the depths of the Earth. These entities, banished there by the ancient civilizations of Hyperborea, Lemuria, and other predecessors, found in Cronus the perfect conduit for their return to the surface. Cronus did not just form an alliance with them, he granted them access to Atlantean technologies, allowing them to use the energy of the Moon Arc for their own purposes. It was they who pushed him into war against Hyperborea, planted the fear of his own children in his mind, and convinced him that power and tyranny were the only paths to Atlantis' survival. But even after Cronus's fall, these dark forces did not vanish. They continued to operate through his followers, priests, generals, and secret societies who still controlled parts of Atlantis. In the end, they managed to seize Poseidon's consciousness, who switched to the side of evil and continued his father's work. The beginning of the Great War. Around 12,000 years ago, a war began, one that would later be called the War of the Gods. On one side stood Atlantis, still loyal to Cronus's traditions and striving for global domination. On the other side was Hyperborea, descendants of ancient civilizations who inhabited the north. The Atlanteans wielded energy crystals, weather control systems, and powerful weapons capable of triggering earthquakes and tsunamis. They had already subjugated many nations and sought to destroy Hyperborea, which stood in the way of their total supremacy. According to legends, before the decisive battle, the Hyperboreans called upon the power of their celestial ancestors, those who had once come from Sirius and Orion. They utilized technologies that could alter the planet's magnetic fields, created shields capable of deflecting Atlantean attacks, and even possessed the ability to manipulate the Earth's energy. When it became evident that the forces were evenly matched, the Atlanteans made a desperate move. They decided to use the Moon as a weapon. The Moon as an instrument of catastrophe. The Atlanteans activated an ancient crystal located in the Moon's depths and attempted to alter the Moon's trajectory, aiming to trigger massive tides that would flood Hyperborea. But this decision proved disastrous. The control over the Moon's energy was lost. The Hyperboreans used their technology to neutralize part of the Atlantean attacks, but the process was already irreversible. Then came the global catastrophes. The Earth's axis shifted, leading to climate changes and massive natural disasters. Powerful earthquakes devastated Atlantis' cities. Giant tsunamis engulfed coastal regions, submerging most of the continent. Volcanoes erupted, covering the atmosphere with thick layers of ash. The destruction of Atlantis. Atlantis could not withstand the onslaught. The continent began sinking, with ruined cities consumed by the waves. Poseidon, realizing that Atlantis could no longer be saved, led his followers into underwater cities. He knew that his civilization would not disappear completely but would continue to exist in the hidden depths of the ocean. Zeus and his family fled to Greece, where he later founded the new dynasty of the Olympian gods. Meanwhile, Hades descended into the underworld, where he continued to rule over the remaining Atlanteans. But what happened to the moon? It remained in orbit, but it was no longer a navigable starship. The technology that once enabled it to travel through space was lost, and the energy crystal inside is now guarded by keepers from different ancient civilizations. Since then, the moon has hung in the sky, serving as a silent witness to the catastrophe that wiped Atlantis from the face of the Earth. Modern lunar mysteries. Today, the moon is not just a lifeless satellite. According to some sources, there are bases of various civilizations on its surface, both benevolent and malevolent. Among them are representatives of Sirius, Orion, and even Arcturus. But there are also those who seek to exploit the Atlantean crystal for their own purposes. Since the late 19th century, a mysterious group known as the Greys, representatives of a civilization from Nibiru, have established a presence on the moon, aiming to seize control of its ancient technologies. The history of the moon and Atlantis is filled with enigmas that do not fit within the conventional scientific worldview. Is it just a coincidence that every ancient civilization worshipped the moon and described it as a divine vessel? If you find these theories fascinating, subscribe to our channel. We continue to uncover the most astonishing secrets of the past, ones that could change the way you see the world forever.